or fun. So using a dessert as an analogy, because why not? It was Valentine's Day yesterday and chocolate was heavy on my mind. How are you showing up today? What's a dessert that would describe how you're showing up? And you should be able to type right into Slido how you're feeling about it. Oh, melted ice cream. Lots of sweetness, a mudslide cake, chocolate dipped strawberries, a little sweet, a little, I always say, like my coffee, I want it dark and bitter. That's how I want my chocolate, and my soul reflects that. Lava cake, okay, a little melty inside. So there's layers here. Pop rocks, that's fun. Ooh, sparkly, very cool. Lava fudge cake, dump cake. That sounds like we just need a binder to hold it all together, and then we'll just go ahead and make it work, right? Good, so while you're practicing that, I'm showing you up here a couple of functionalities. People are typing, right? So that's what I'll be watching as I'm gathering information from you. And we can see the number of total respondents here. So that's kind of fun, right? A burnt cake, yeah, dig on that. Smarty, okay, that makes me actually very happy to hear someone feeling that way today. And a kiss. Wonderful. A little Debbie. Is your name Debbie? I want you to be a big Debbie when you walk out of here. A grandiose Debbie. Debbie-saurus Rex. That's what I want you to leave as. Good. Very nice. Post-Valentine's Day chocolate. There's still love in it. It's not gone. Interesting to think about how we can use something like a food to tell the story of how we feel. Because that's really what we're here to talk about today, is feeling, right? I'm here to talk about feeling. Not really, I'm actually here to talk about emotional intelligence, but a product of emotions is feeling. And so it's always really great to find out, like, how do you feel when I meet you in this moment? How are you feeling? How are you feeling today, everybody? Talk to me, how you feeling? Woo, woo, that's an easy response, right? Woo, but how do you really feel? Let's get down and dirty about this. How are you really feeling? Because feelings are interesting. They're often, frankly, physiological responses to environmental stimulus. A feeling is something that we create meaning around from something that we are having happen to us. And so understanding feelings is critical in this work that I do, and that I believe you as HR professionals engage in, because if we don't know what we're feeling and how we're thinking, we don't know how we're going to control our behaviors. And then we end up in situations where we can't maximize our influence. And so understanding how we feel is a critical part of self-leadership. It starts with self-awareness. If you don't know how you feel, how are you going to actually influence people? The heart of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. It really starts with me knowing me. And so often we think that emotional intelligence, which is, by the way, this set of qualities or skills that we develop as a child, and then we can grow and change and intentionally shift over time, that quality of self-awareness is at the center of emotional intelligence, because being self-aware means knowing who I am in any environment and how I'm going to respond to that environment. And when I'm responding to it, if I'm responding productively, and secondarily, extrinsically, when I get feedback from people around me about how they're perceiving, or I believe they're perceiving me, that's also a form of awareness. Like, oh, it's called extrinsic awareness. And so what we're trying to gain as we think about self-leadership is, how do I maximize my influence by getting a better understanding of who I am, and then when I put information out there, using that information that I get back as feedback to affirm or help me adjust my sense of self. And we need to have a sense of self if we want to influence productively and consistently. And it has to be authentic. It has to be something that we choose. So grab your Slido. Are you self-aware? How well do we know ourselves? The third option, which is now the second option, which is adorable, is just sort of the litmus test of, are you still with me? So right now, 89% of the people in the room are reflecting that they are self-aware. Great. Now think about those around you, and I'm not going to put you in this position. It could be the people at the table, they won't know what you say. But it could be others you might be thinking about in your workplaces or in your world. Are those around you, coworkers, team members, family, are they self-aware? Great balance. If you think, we got 83 people responding. Awesome response rate, y'all, too. That's good data. If you think you're seeing more or less, and probably less self-awareness in the workplace and in the world, it's because it's true. A company called 6 Seconds that studies emotional intelligence, trains emotional intelligence, and their research is profound. They continue to really grow their understanding and application of emotional intelligence, did a study last year. And this is really, I think, something that we can all reflect on. From 2018 to 2022, emotional intelligence in every single category dropped. All qualities of emotional intelligence in the world diminished. And if that's not sobering, I'm not sure what else. And it's, in my opinion, it's because the world we live in and the world we work in is so complex, it's so volatile, it's so uncertain that we're constantly in a state of fight or flight, which means we're not accessing that capacity for self-awareness and personal development. Instead, we're simply reacting. And the products of that, I'm sure, as human resource professionals, you are seeing and experiencing in the workplace. People are burnt out. They feel less connected. They feel less well. Resilience is low. And these scores are continuing to decline. I think one of the things that has struck me recently as I think about this, I spoke at a conference in October, is the younger population that's coming into the workplace that has kind of come through some very formative years during COVID and actually weren't having really effective social interactions, and the bulk of their interactions were in their home environments, and now they need to integrate into a work environment where people are already burnt out and they don't have energy and resources to support and be good mentors to these young people who haven't learned a skill set yet that's going to be critical to their long-term success and, oh, by the way, the success of your businesses. So this is this topic in particular seems to be one that I think a lot of HR people can really connect with, the risks attached to this, and also the rewards as we think about how we can compassionately influence others. That's really what I strive to do. This is my mission as an organization, Party of One. It is something I've committed myself, though, to as I have continued to do the work that I do. Critical to this mission was really why I chose to do this kind of work. Like this wasn't just something I pulled out of a fortune cookie, right? I had a lot of professional experience that guided me in this direction, and some personal experience that I'll also share with you that helped form me as a human being and as a professional. My professional experiences are some that you may be able to relate with. I don't remember a time when I walked into a space and was not attuned to the systems that were happening, the system and subsystem and the interactions that were happening at the micro and the meta levels. I'm a systems thinker. I didn't even know what that was. I'm an organization development professional. I didn't even know that was an industry. All I knew is I couldn't walk into a workspace and not start to break down the breakdowns. What's happening? I thought we all came to work here on the same thing. We all have the same goal. We all want the same outcomes, and yet this department won't talk to this department because they don't like each other. This person won't talk to this person because they don't trust each other. Oh, but they're willing to talk about each other to everybody else, just not to each other. And if we really want the work to get done in a productive and meaningful way, why isn't anybody talking to the leaders who should be the ones guiding this work instead of everyone feeling a victim of the work? And it really started, as I continued my professional development, it really started to grow more clear to me that a lot of this is based in emotional intelligence because we learn these qualities at such a young age. We don't know how to change the behavior. They've worked for us, whatever work means, and so we bring dysfunctional behavior to the workplace and enact it in ways to keep us safe, when we feel we have low power, when we feel there's gender or status issues, when we feel like we have low efficacy, when we feel like we're not being rewarded properly, we look outside of us and say, it's everybody else, it's not me. And so we act out, we lash out, we withdraw, we blame, we shame, we make jokes, and then we get surprised when nothing changes, which furthers our victimization and keeps organizations from functioning, right? That's the part of the work that professionally really pushed me. Here's the other thing as I look across this room, and I'm gonna ask you to grab your phone again just for 1 second. We're not gonna do a Slido. I want you to turn on your photo function, if you will. Just turn on your photo function and turn it to selfie. I want you to look at yourself. Just memorialize this amazing day at HRATV at Wahoo's. Now look at yourself, because the reason I do this work is every single one of you have a right to be powerful in your workplace. Every single one of you have a right to exercise the best of who you are. And when you look at yourself, I want you to see and be able to say, I have a right to perform to my highest potential. I have the right and I have the power to choose. I have the power to choose. And if you can say that, then my work here is done. That's the part of my work that I'm so passionate about, that came to me through my professional development, which happened over a heck of a long time. But that's another story. Through my work as an organization development professional, I started to recognize that people, when they want things to change, expect things to change without actually exercising their right, power, authority that comes to them both professionally through roles as well as naturally through their human ability, their willingness to influence. Because influencing isn't telling, it's being, and then eliciting responses from people. And so it got me really thinking about, how do I help an individual perform to their highest potential in a complex space where they feel like they have no control? So it's going to come down to self, starting with self. Awareness, information, decision. That's where the power lay. And the more effectively you can do this, the more effectively you can influence. So let's talk about the stages of this with some kind of quick biology. This swirling, this is our brain on stress. And as I spoke to the drop in emotional intelligence over the last several years, we can already see that we're already here. When we're taking in so much information, so much stimulus all the time, we don't have time to pick and choose how we're going to manage it and then productively do that. We rely on habit and let reaction be the option that we opt for, when if we choose awareness, we actually get a chance to be more reflective and to work with better information. If we can stop the swirl, at least slow it down, we can make better choices. And that's really what I hope you can take away from today. You have choice. No one makes you feel. No one makes you behave. And as you think about your coaching and mentoring of individuals in your organizations as an HR professional, I'm sure this is something you think about a lot and even speak to a lot. So this may help you in that area as well. Growing awareness can be done through several different kind of mechanisms. The first and most powerful one is a simple one that many probably already practice. It's mindfulness. You can call it prayer. You can call it yoga, deep breathing, exercise. So long as you're not listening to yet another podcast about how you need to develop yourself, but truly staying attuned to who you are and what you need and the value that you bring, and recognizing that when you have feelings and emotions, they are yours. No one else is making you. That moment is always going to be in your power to choose. Starting with self. But here's the funny thing, right? You can own this or not. I'm not going to hold anybody accountable. Be as comfortable and really as vulnerable as you're willing to be. How many of you right now are trying to control someone else? Hands go up. That would be me. She's talking to me. Or something outside of your control, right? A coworker, a spouse or a significant other, a child, right? Trying to control things outside of our control. What can we control? What is the one thing we have control over? ourselves. We already know this, right? Intellectually. And yet we still continue to push past that and think that we can change others or influence them without exercising control of self first. When we demonstrate self-control, we recognize that we have feelings, we make choices, and we behave in alignment